Thamesmead has more than 50,000 residents, but not a single train station. No tube, no DLR, no overground. And today I'm here in Thamesmead to show you exactly why this area still has no connection and how that affects every journey people make from here. When you see the full picture, it becomes clearer why Thamesmead has had a transport gap for years.
Thamesmead was supposed to be a flagship new town, but the transport link it depended on were never delivered. And once you start walking this route, you realize the issue isn't just the distance, it's the geography, the marshland, and the decades of planning decisions that left this whole area disconnected from the rest of London. And the strange thing about Thamesmead is this: it isn't actually far from the rail network. Abbey Wood is right there, but Thamesmead was built on the wrong side of the marshes. The water, the ground conditions, and the layout of the estate meant that extending rail into the center of Thamesmead was never straightforward. Over the years, different ideas were proposed, from the DLR extension to the new overground line and even a tram, but none of them ever made it past the planning stage. Every option ran into the same problem: cost, engineering difficulty, and the fact that Thamesmead was built before the transport was. So instead of a station, Thamesmead ended up relying almost entirely on buses. And that is why even today, 50,000 people still have to travel out of the area just to connect with the rest of London. And when you get into Thamesmead Centre, you realize something even more surprising. This isn't a tiny estate on the edge of London. This is a full town. Shops, schools, thousands of people, but still no station anywhere near it. And the deeper you go into Thamesmead, the more you realize how unusual this place really is. A town built around lakes, estates, and open space, but with no rail link running any of it. And that is where the real story starts to make sense. Because once you leave the town center and head further in, you start to see the real reason Thamesmead never got a station.
This is Southmere Lake, one of the most known parts of Thamesmead. All around it, you can see new developments and new homes. But even with all these investments, there is still no station. Everything here was built around water, and Southmere Lake is the clearest example of how the geography shaped this entire area. Because when you stand here, you realize Thamesmead wasn't designed around transport. It was designed around water. The lake, the marshland, the soft ground, all of it made building a station in the middle of this town far more complicated than it looks on the map. The ground underneath Thamesmead is some of the most difficult to build on in London. This whole area sits on reclaimed marshland, soft soil, a high water table, and unstable ground. To build a rail through here, you wouldn't just need tracks. You would need deep foundations, drainage systems, and expensive engineering just to stop the line from sinking. And that is the part most people never see. On a map, extending rail onto Thamesmead looks simple, but on the ground, it becomes one of the most complex and costly pieces of infrastructure you could build in this part of London. I'm on Harrow Manor Way right now. This is the main route that people use to get from Thamesmead to Abbey Wood. Everyone comes down this road because Thamesmead doesn't have its own train station. You can see some of the new developments from here as the area keeps changing. From Southmere, you just follow this road straight to Abbey Wood. What most people don't realize is that Harrow Manor Way has been treated like Thamesmead's temporary solution for almost 50 years. This road was never meant to carry the entire town. It was only supposed to bridge Thamesmead to Abbey Wood until a proper rail link arrived. But that rail link never came. So today, every bus route, every commuter, every school run still funnels down this single corridor. And when you see how much pressure this one road is under, you start to understand why planners kept coming back to the same idea, extending rail through this exact stretch. This is Abbey Wood, the closest rail link to Thamesmead. Most people from Thamesmead walk or take the bus to get here every day. With the Elizabeth line here, this is the main connection point for the area. From here, I'm heading back into Thamesmead to show the estate.
Abbey Wood wasn't built to handle Thamesmead. When Elizabeth Line opened, this station suddenly became the gateway for an entire town that still has no real link of its own. Overnight, Abbey Wood became one of the most important interchange points in southeast London, not because of its design, but because Thamesmead depends on it. And that's the part most people miss. The Elizabeth Line transformed journeys across London, but it didn't transform the journey to the station. For thousands of people in Thamesmead, the hardest part of the commute is still the first 10 minutes just getting here. And that's exactly why so many transport proposals kept cycling back to this area. Every serious plan, the DLR, the overground, even the tram ideas treated Abbey Wood as the anchor point. Because if you can connect Thamesmead to here, you unlock the entire network.
So I am back inside Thamesmead now. This is the older estate area. These are the classic Thamesmead blocks people recognize. This part shows the original design of the estate before the regeneration started. So can you really see the contrast in design between the old Thamesmead and the new developments?
These estates showed the real impact of Thamesmead not having its own station. The layout, the spacing, and the long routes between blocks, all of it only works if you have fast transport in the middle of the town. But that link never arrived, and these neighborhoods ended up more disconnected than they were ever meant to be. This is where you feel the transport gap the most. Long walks to the nearest bus, long journeys just to reach Abbey Wood, and no direct rail inside the area. The estates weren't designed to be isolated. They became isolated because the transport never matched the scale of the community. The DLR was once meant to cross the river and run straight into Thamesmead, with a station planned right in the middle of this town. It would have connected this whole area directly to Beckton, Canning Town, and the wider East London network. But the project was dropped before construction ever began. If that line had been built, Thamesmead would have had the direct rail link it's been waiting for since the 60s. Thamesmead was built with big ambitions, but the transport link that was meant to support it never arrived, and that is why the town still feels disconnected today. The proposals have changed, the plans have changed, but the need hasn't. Thamesmead is still waiting for the connection it was promised.